Good day. I'm Ben Powell, and I'm joined today by Geoff Powell, president of CH Powell Company and a leading subject matter expert in the area of U.S. customs policy and regulations for importation. Geoff, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Ben. Nice to see you.
Likewise. Geoff, thanks for being here. And we'd like to take some time to discuss the modernization of customs broker regulations that were implemented officially commencing in December of 2022, and that the brokerage and import community are adapting to and integrating into their processes now. Can you, Geoff, just give us a quick overview of the significance of these modernization regulations and the key elements of the regs?
Sure. This was a huge change in the regulations, and this has been 8 years in the making. CH Powell Company is an active member and very much involved with the National Customs Brokers and Forwarders Association of America, who's been meeting with CBP on these regulations, going back and forth to find out what the role of the broker should be in the 21st century. As you know, brokers in the past have been licensed in particular districts to transact customs business there. Now everybody's going to have a national permit. With the change in how we do business, we can now file entries from any port to any port, as opposed to doing the old remote location filing. And it's really centralizing how brokers can do business under a national permit. So it's very, very well received moving to this national permit.
Great. And Geoff, that is an impact that will, be felt within the brokerage community for licensed brokers. Are there any other regulations that will impact how brokers go about doing their daily business?
Sure. So if a company is going to be applying for a new permit to do business as a broker, they have to provide a plan showing how they're going to ensure that they're using responsible supervision and control. This is not required of customs brokers at this time, but CBP does highly recommend it. So you're seeing an increased pressure on brokers to make sure that they're doing responsible supervision and control. One of the questions is, how many brokers is one going to need to file, individually licensed brokers? And since there are so many factors, because every broker's business is a little bit different, CBP hasn't provided a ratio or anything like that. They're going to look at it on a case-by-case basis, but just to make sure that you're meeting the needs of the responsible supervision and control. We've seen increased ACE functionality where brokers will reporting all their employees, new and terminated, through a portal. They've modernized the customs broker exam, where we used to have to go to the port offices of CBP to take the exam and then go to testing centers. And now over the last couple of years, they've been testing remote. So one can take it at their home, in their office, again, to meet the current business environment. Cybersecurity is a concern, a big threat, a possible threat. So CBP in these regulations outlined the responsibility of the broker reporting to the Office of Information Technology Security Operations Center if they feel there's been a breach in their data. CBP brokers contain a lot of confidential information, and CBP wants to make sure that is protected, and if there's any threat to that, to report it right away. There is one section within the new regulations, Section 11132, which has caused us a little bit of concern, and we're looking for further guidance on CBP on. And what that states is that if we as a broker determine that we're going to cease a relationship with a customer because we believe they are intentionally trying to defraud the government, we need to report that and the circumstances under it. And it just gives us concern that we're going to be the judge and jury here. We're concerned about our relationship with our current customers and how that might change. We do need to also report to CBP any communications that we've had with customers, trying to make sure that they're compliant. So some years ago, they looked at deputizing the brokers, which we did not want. But again, CBP needs to be able to be in an environment where the importer's doing reasonable care and the brokers are showing responsible supervision and control. So greater control by CBP.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And so that's 11132 is certainly a key area to keep an eye on that could impact importers and that broker-importer relationship. I believe there's some additional requirement around powers of attorney as well between the importer and the customs broker as part of the modernization regs. Are there any impacts for CH Powell Company, Geoff, in terms of how we operate and will need to adjust to this new environment?
I don't think we're going to have to adjust that much, Ben, because we do have, and for a number of years, had a central compliance department. Somebody that worked with our functional manager and worked with each one of the offices, doing audits on all the work that they did. Specifically looking at anti-dumping, countervailing duties, things like that, just to make sure that we're doing it right. So we've had that oversight in the procedures right now. But as you said, the power of attorney is probably one of the biggest issues, in that CBP wants to ensure that the broker has gotten that power of attorney directly from the importer, or that the importer knows that this broker is working on their behalf. So we may need to be contacting some of our importers about getting revised power of attorneys, just to make sure that handoff between the two parties, meets these customs standards.
Yeah, great. Well, Geoff, we'll end with just, again, a focus on customs brokers themselves. And are there any additional requirements or expectations that we placed on customs brokers going forward in terms of their awareness, continuing education, and just the quality of aptitude and diligence within the industry?
Yeah, so the continuing education is a great example, because we thought that this was going to be part of these new regulations, but it took a sidetrack. So coming out this year, we're anticipating new regulations about continuing education for brokers, that each licensed broker must have 36 credits over a 3-year period, not very difficult to attain, between customs webinars, lawyers webinars, NCBFA programs, et cetera, that one doesn't even have to pay for. But CBP wants to ensure, and we do too as brokers, to maintain our professionalism, that each broker is up to date on current laws and regulations, because they are ever changing. And one needs to make sure that those licensed brokers are abreast of what's happening in international trade and customs compliance.
Sure. Excellent. Well, as we've seen from the past 3 years in particular, with the dynamism of global supply chains, I think the same applies to the customs world as well. And it's encouraging to see U.S. CBP moving into the 21st century, continuing that adjustment and evolution in modernizing the way that they themselves operate, but also in the environment in which brokers operate also. So, Geoff, thank you very much for joining us today and sharing your insights. And we look forward to having you back for future sessions as we move forward in 2023. Thanks very much.
My pleasure, Ben. Thanks very much for having me.